All right, hello and welcome to the video. My name is Wade Smith. And before I start, I'm just going to remind the listener that I had somewhere around 6 to 6.5 total years of Isshinryu Karate and Okinawan and Japanese Jiu-Jitsu training from Sensei Michael Storms and his assistant Andre Pierre, and then 4.5 altogether so it's 1.5 or so from Mike Storms, and then 4.5 or so from Mark Myers Dojo, in other words. And then I also joined the Gracie United Dojo altogether off and on for about a year and a half. So I'm just going to explain some things that I saw about Brazilian Jiu Jitsu that do and don't work. For example, the triangle choke works and so forth. But like the Kimura and the Americana were taught in Isshinryu Karate anyway, things like that. So we mostly concentrated. We did do ground game about 3 times per month in Isshinryu Karate, or about 10% of the time. So if you attended classes 5 nights a week, you got in 3 solid ground nights. All right, but we mostly focused on standing jiu-jitsu, small circle jiu-jitsu. Uh, probably, I know there's probably about 800 total submissions on the human body, and I know about 200 or so of them. I can still name over 50 of them by name, not even counting the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu submissions. All right. Um, but the thing I gotta say is the very first day in class at the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class, I tapped out the assistant instructor 3 consecutive times, and he never managed to tap me out. And I wasn't even a black belt in Isshinryu Karate, and he was a second-degree black belt in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And another assistant instructor there at the time was a first-degree black belt in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and a first-degree black belt in Isshinryu, ironically. But he was a super heavyweight, and he was way overweight at the time, the first time I met this gentleman. And I tapped him with the filter thing under your nose one time, and then I tapped him the last time that I was a member over there. I tapped him with this thing, all right, and I'm 50-50 with him on tapping him out. But I tapped him with this thing on the side of the neck, and he's like, I don't know if that's legal. Well, it's legal. It's not banned in a unified world rule book for MMA. All right. Um, and it's definitely street legal. They claim they're teaching street self defense. So if I can verbally submit a super heavyweight one handed, it's pretty bad, isn't it? Um, all right. So um, they the problem with the Gracie Brazilian Jiu Jitsu school is they start all of their they don't really spar at all as far as striking goes. They do no striking work whatsoever, except they might do bag work like once a week. I don't even know if they do that anymore. And when they grapple with one another, they start on their knees about 2 or 3 feet away from one another. Is how they start all of their grappling sessions. And as I said the other day, the MMA matches, you start however far apart that is, 16, 20 feet, a wide octagon, um, in the standing position. And every fight starts with being dominated by striking, and then whoever thinks they're the better grappler tries to shoot in. That's how real MMA is done. It's not it's not starting 3 feet away and telling the striker that he can't use any strikes at all, because I'm primarily a striker in spite of knowing 200 submissions. Um, it's not that's like says that all of my skills don't matter, and we're not even going to practice against your skills. And then they wonder why they get knocked out when they get in MMA, in professional MMA fights. They all get knocked out. All right, they all had to quit because they got knocked out repeatedly. All right, because they didn't practice against striking, and they refused to spar me. All right, they flat out refused to spar me. So for that reason, I'm not going back to the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school. I have a different skill set than them, but I know 10 times more submissions total than them. So and I know some of their submissions now anyway, since I was there for a year and a half. So I don't need their skills because I already got some of them anyway, and I already got better skills. I got my striking, and I got 200 small circle jiu-jitsu submissions, and you know so it wouldn't make any sense to pay $175 a month to go join a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu school that's going to teach me like one new submission per month, because that's about how it works. You work on basics all the time and you never learn anything new. All right, so that's what's wrong with going to the jiu-jitsu school when you're already an expert at stand-up. All right, and every aspect of stand-up, both the striking and the submissions from the standing position. All right, so you got to weigh your options, and yes, every you do need to work on ground game, but you don't have to work on ground game every day. That's retarded. All right, especially if you plan on fighting in MMA, where every fight starts standing up. You should, in fact, work on 75 and 90% stand up and 10 to 25% ground game, because every round of every fight starts standing up. All right, understand? And 90% of street fights start standing up. So doesn't make sense to work on ground game every day.